This is the News 4 Rundown.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jim Hadley. It is Wednesday, March 4th, and here's a look at some of the stories we're working on for you tonight. Coming up, Americans stuck abroad. The U.S. war on Iran making it hard for people who live here in our region to make it back from the Middle East. We hear from one woman tonight who says she was on her way to a wedding when the war began. Plus, the long-lasting legacy of Steny Hoyer, the Maryland congressman stepping down after nearly 60 years of public service. Who he's thanking on his way out of office. Then, as the weather gets nicer around here, we're keeping a close eye on those cherry blossoms when our meteorologists think will reach peak bloom, and how you can share your prediction too. But we want to begin tonight with new information about the man accused of stabbing a woman to death last week at a Fairfax County bus stop. News 4 has obtained emails that show Fairfax County police had been sounding the alarm for months about Abdul Jalloh and pressing the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office to find a way to get him locked up. Also tonight, Governor Abigail Spanberger is weighing in on the case, pointing out that ICE had failed to deport Jalloh even though they had an order for removal. Northern Virginia Bureau Chief Julie Carey has the latest developments.
This document is just one way Fairfax County police commanders warned officers of the man they feared was growing increasingly dangerous as he roamed the Richmond Highway corridor. Their fears realized last week when Abdul Jalloh was charged with fatally stabbing Stephanie Minter. Jalloh had been arrested more than 30 times before, serving a short time in jail after stabbing this man in 2023.
Well, I figured he's in jail. When he gets out, they'll do something with him.
But when Jalloh was released, police say he continued his violent ways, accused in yet another stabbing. News 4 has obtained a series of emails from 2025 in which Fairfax County police commanders at the Mount Vernon station begin pressing the Commonwealth Attorney's Office to find ways to keep Jalloh behind bars. But a spokeswoman says few of the cases could be taken to trial because witnesses didn't show up. After Jalloh violated probation last year, instead of serving the rest of a 5-year suspended sentence, he was released, triggering this warning to officers reading, Abdul Jalloh was released from the ADC this evening after serving his sentence for probation violation. Please use caution if you come in contact with him. The next day, the Mount Vernon commander sounding the alarm in an email to the Chief Deputy Commonwealth's Attorney, writing of Jalloh, he has an extensive criminal history. His behavior seems to be escalating and becoming more violent and explosive. I'm concerned that this is not a matter of if, but rather when he will maliciously wound, or worse, again. Jalloh's case has also put a spotlight on ICE. As News 4 reported earlier this week, ICE says Jalloh had been in the country unlawfully since 2012. The agency got a final order of removal in 2020. Virginia Republicans blaming Fairfax County authorities, accusing them of failing to honor detainers and alert ICE. They're also criticizing Governor Spanberger for her executive order that ends agreements for state agencies to assist ICE.
Stayed because Fairfax County has a documented history of refusing to honor immigration detainers. Because charges were repeatedly dropped. Because a system that was designed to protect people like Stephanie Minter was systematically dismantled by policies that prioritize political ideology over public safety.
But Fairfax County jail officials tell News 4 ICE never lodged a detainer or came to pick up Jalloh in the 9 times he was jailed between 2020 and 2025.
There is a woman who is dead because ICE did not take action, and apparently they expect local law enforcement or state law enforcement to do their jobs for them. There are so many opportunities for them to take him, detain him, and remove him.
News 4 has sent repeated emails to ICE asking why they didn't deport Jalloh, but we have not heard back. I've also been in touch with Stephanie Minter's family. They tell me they too have many questions about why her accused killer was not behind bars. And they're asking that people continue to, quote, say her name with the hope that it'll bring change. Reporting for News 4, I'm Julie Carey.
A Prince George's County man is facing deportation to Cameroon tonight. Ludovic Bach's loved ones and friends say he's been in custody for 2 weeks. According to Bach's attorney, he was detained by immigration and customs enforcement agents in Baltimore last month. News 4's Dominic Moody spoke with his family, his friends, and his law team about their efforts to ensure he remains here in the U.S.
A lot of shock. There's a lot of panic. For me, it was like, this is the most crucial time for us to be able to act.
Ludovic Book has lived within the U.S. for more than 2 decades. His close friends and relatives say he's created a life here working in the DMV while competing and winning multiple regional gaming championships.
He's a good guy. He's not harmful. If you know him, you love him.
Those are some of the reasons why when his sister Diane and Kyle, one of his closest friends, heard about his detention, they were shocked. According to his attorney, Book was detained by ICE agents in Baltimore while trying to apply for his yearly work permit, a process his loved ones say he's been doing for the last 20 years.
Ludovic has been in the country since 2002, and throughout that entire process, he has been nothing but a model citizen who has followed the exact procedures and paths that have laid out for him.
Ludovic came to the U.S. in 2002 after his mother and stepfather got married, but the couple divorced in 2005, a life event that impacted Ludovic, his mother, and siblings.
They were all placed into removal proceedings. And as a family, he was a minor, so he fell under her case. And her applications to remain in the U.S. was denied. And as a result, his application and his siblings' applications were also denied.
Buck's attorney says his client was granted an order of supervision and was allowed to work in the country as long as he checked in every year. But last month, something changed.
There's no reason why he should have been detained or his supervision revoked, because there was no violation.
His loved ones say since his detainment, he's been transferred to Louisiana and Georgia. Now there's a fear about Ludovic being deported to Cameroon.
If they send him back to our home country of Cameroon, being openly gay is not an option. It's not a thing. People get harassed, they get beaten, they get arrested, and even killed for their sexual orientation.
News 4 reached out to ICE to learn more about the case and why Ludovic was detained, and we are waiting for their response. Meantime, loved ones say they want to see him released.
He's my home. He's my joy because we love laughing together. He's just a big chunk of my heart.
In Prince George's County, Dominic Moody, News 4.
Day 5 of the U.S. war on Iran, and a new NBC News poll out today shows a lack of support for President Trump's military action in the Middle East. 54% of registered voters said they disapprove of Trump's handling of Iran, compared to 41% who approve. When divided along party lines, 90% of Democrats disapprove, 79% of Republicans approve, while 61% of independents disapprove. Now, when asked whether the United States should have taken military action against Iran, more than half of registered voters polled said no. 41% said we should have, 7% said they aren't sure. Those surveys were conducted between Saturday and Tuesday with a margin of error of plus or minus 3 percentage points. Those findings come as Defense Department officials say the U.S. should gain air superiority over Iran in the next few days. That will allow U.S. forces to fly freely over Iran and hit more Iranian targets. They also announced that for the first time since World War II, a U.S. submarine used a torpedo to successfully sink an Iranian naval vessel. Now, Iran is still sending missiles into other Middle East nations where American tourists are desperately trying to get out. The problem, flights are not taking off, forcing Americans to take buses and other forms of transportation to a place where they can get out. Today, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs said the military will help Americans get out when it can.
First, it's a great opportunity to encourage everybody in the region to go to the State Department and register. Secretary Rubio's been trying to get that word out, and I'd ask you to help us with that, to have folks register. We've also opened up space available seats as C-17s and other airplanes come in to try to help folks get out, but that's really a State Department matter.
Now, some of those Americans currently stuck in the Middle East are from our region. News 4's Mauricio Casillas talked to local residents still looking for a way out.
Frightening booms captured by Anjali Sharma from her hotel in Doha, Qatar. The Arlington resident has been stuck in the Middle Eastern country since Saturday and has documented her story on social media.
So story time on how I went from almost getting out of Doha last night to then realizing that I'm not going to be leaving anytime soon. I think it really hit me when I saw black smoke coming from afar on one of the buildings, and it ended up being a missile that got defused, and the debris fell on the ground and caused an explosion.
She was on her way to a wedding in India and had a layover in Qatar. That's when Iran's retaliatory strikes began. The airspace in Qatar and several other nearby countries is closed. Sharma says she's alone. The rest of her family, who she was supposed to meet up with, had their flights canceled. She says it's incredibly unsettling.
I hear explosions every day. I hear planes going outside. I mean, I still hear military jets right now. I don't really know what that means.
Sharma is one of several thousands of Americans currently stranded in the Middle East. The State Department says it's assisted nearly 6,500 Americans since the conflict began, but Sharma says she hasn't been able to receive any clear guidance.
I would just really appreciate it if the U.S. government could get clear guidelines of what they're going to do to get us out and when that even may be.
Northern Virginia Congressman Don Beyer has been critical of the Trump administration's evacuation efforts. He says his office has heard from about 100 families whose loved ones are stranded abroad.
The primary reason the State Department exists is to serve Americans living abroad, and they're desperately failing at that right now.
The Secretary of State issued level 4 travel advisories dating back to January for many of these countries in the region.
The Trump administration defended its actions, but the do not travel advisory was not issued for countries like Qatar. The State Department today created a new form for stranded citizens to fill out, which they say will provide departure information about available aviation and ground transportation options.
We will help every single American who wants to come home if they're making that request of the State Department.
Sharma is desperate that this will be her ticket out.
I just want to get out of here safely at this point.
Mauricio Casillas, News 4.
The News 4 Rundown will be right back. Here's a look at what we have coming up.
More than 30 candidates are vying to replace Congressman Steny Hoyer after he announced that he is not seeking re-election. Coming up, we take a look back at the Maryland representative's legacy and why one particular part of his constituency means so much to him.
Yeah, definitely a dreary day across the area, and we've got more shower activity, not just for tonight, but also for the day tomorrow. I'm tracking that, and warming temperatures, at least for most of us, coming up.
When will the cherry trees at the tidal basin go from looking like this without any blossoms on them to peak bloom? My peak bloom forecast after the break.
Back now with some of today's other top stories. Advocates are pushing to strengthen the punishment for vehicular manslaughter in Maryland. Jamari's law would increase the maximum penalty for vehicular manslaughter from 10 to 20 years. Any subsequent conviction would double from 15 to 30 years. A bill to bring a casino to Fairfax County has passed the Virginia House of Delegates, and soon it could end up on the governor's desk. This year, the bill was brought back to life after it died in the House last year. It would allow for a casino anywhere in Fairfax County now, not just in Tysons. Virginia delegates and senators have to reach an agreement on the bill first, since the version each chamber passed is different. Montgomery County Public Schools is facing sharp criticism after it recently made a request to buy almost 150 new diesel buses. All new Montgomery County school bus purchases were supposed to be for electric buses. MCPS does still have 285 electric buses in its fleet of 1,300. We reached out to the county school board today, but they have declined to comment. Metro is expanding contactless payment options to now include parking stations. The first location with the updated technology is the Addison Road Metro Station in Capitol Heights. Commuters can now tap their credit, debit, or smart trip cards to leave their cars behind and board a train. Metro will be fitting 38 other parking stations with this technology soon. Longtime Congressman Steny Hoyer is stepping down from public service next year. More than 30 candidates have filed for the primary race, but Hoyer has already announced his pick. News 4's Tracy Wilkins sat down with Hoyer to take a look at his legacy and what he considers to be an important part of his political career.
It became clear as I spoke with Congressman Steny Hoyer that he is grateful for what he has achieved in his nearly 60 years of public service. But as we talked about what he's done, There was one topic that moved him to tears, and that is his unwavering support he's had in the African American community. For more than 30 years, U.S. Congressman Steny Hoyer has hosted a breakfast during Black History Month as a thank you. This will be his last.
I hate to see him go, but I'm grateful for all that he has done for Prince George's County.
He's so personable. I love Steny.
It's going to be hard shoes to fill.
Just a few months ago, dozens of members of Congress from both sides of the aisle gathered to hear the news that one of their most senior members won't be running again.
I have decided not to seek another term in the People's House.
And in the short speech that encapsulated his 60 years of public service, Hoyer thanked one group of voters in particular, dear to his heart.
To the people of Prince George's County, particularly the African American community.
I was thanking people. I said, I really ought to thank the people who got me here.
Hoyer represents Maryland's 5th congressional district, a majority Black and brown district that's 40% African American, a population that he says supported him from the very beginning of his public service career.
I wouldn't have been elected to the state senate but for the African American community.
Hoyer was just a few months out of Georgetown law when he was elected to the Maryland State Senate, rising to become the youngest president of the Senate in state history. He would go on to lose a run for Maryland's lieutenant governor, but later found his place in the U.S. Congress in 1981 and stayed. Over the decades, he's championed landmark legislation like the Americans with Disabilities Act. He's served as House Majority Leader and Democratic Whip, and he developed close friendships with Republicans and Democrats, including former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the late Georgia Congressman John Lewis, whose picture sits outside of his office.
It's been one of the more important issues in my career, civil rights. I've been down to Selma with John Lewis on the pilgrimage that we call it, the Faith in Politics organization has, 15 times crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge. 7 of those times hand in hand with John Lewis.
During Hoyer's time in Congress, his district has changed, and Prince George's County transitioned from a predominant white county to Black. But Hoyer remained the dean of Maryland's delegation and state politics. He's been intentional about mentoring and supporting up-and-coming Black politicians like Maryland Governor Wes Moore and U.S. Senator Angela Alsobrooks.
There have been so many of us that he's mentored and has really taken us under his wing and done so very, very personally to repay the support that he's gotten.
And now, Maryland Delegate Adrian Boafo, who he's endorsed in the race for his seat. Hoyer fought to even the playing field for Prince George's and secure federal installations and jobs for its citizens, offering the stability that's helped to make it one of the wealthiest predominant Black communities in the country. But what he hoped would be his crowning achievement is being challenged by the Trump administration, the relocation of the FBI headquarters to Greenbelt.
I'm disappointed with that, but I'm still working on it.
As a politician who knows how to work across the aisle, the Congress that Hoyer first entered has changed, along with the tenor of American politics. But he says he does not believe the current polarization we're experiencing has to be permanent.
As long as you elect people who want to be confrontational, who are angry, don't be surprised you get a confrontational and angry Congress that is somewhat dysfunctional, maybe a lot dysfunctional.
In a time when many African Americans question allegiance to any one political party, people in this room believe this is one politician who has shown up for them.
He's never forgotten who sent him to Congress. I think he's been deeply appreciative of the support he got from the African American community.
Throughout my career, the African American community has been very loyal to me. And I hope they believe, and I believe they do because they've been supported, that I've kept faith with them.
These are uncertain times for Prince George's and Charles counties, where a significant portion of residents have been impacted by federal job cuts and the dismantling of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Whomever wins this primary is heavily favored to succeed Hoyer in representing that district. I'm Tracy Wilkins, News 4 Washington.
Thank you, Tracy. Tomorrow evening, Tracy will moderate the first forum for Democratic candidates running for that District 5 congressional seat. It'll be held at the JC's in Waldorf from 6 to 8 in the evening with candidate meet and greets before and after. The event is open to the public and hosted by the Charles County Democratic Central Committee. All right, Doug joins us now with the latest on this forecast. We're ready for some clear skies, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
No, I mean, you look at Monday was cloudy with snow coming down. Yesterday, cloudy with rain at times, and that's what we saw out there today.
Yeah.
And we've got more of that. I mean, take a look out towards Reston Town Center. Not only do we have the low clouds, we've got fog now. We've got rain in parts of the area at a temperature of 48. So at least we're warmer. We hit a high temperature today of 52, so at least we've gotten to the 50s in some areas. Northeast wind. As long as we have that northerly component, we're going to stay on the cool side of things. Notice temperatures to the north colder than temperatures to the south. We're by nearly 10 degrees, 45 Hagerstown, 53 down towards Fredericksburg. Now, we're tracking the rain coming back in across the area. We've seen some periods of rain today, and if you're to the north, you're not seeing much. Frederick, Hagerstown, Baltimore, maybe some areas of mist or drizzle. But right now, the heaviest rain coming through northern Virginia and in towards southern Maryland. We'll continue to see that making its way through Woodbridge, Clinton, Maryland, over towards Waldorf. You're seeing that rain out there right now. The wider picture showing this boundary that we've got from D.C. all the way through Cincinnati back towards St. Louis. This is a storm right here, this area of low pressure. Out ahead of it, we've got the warm front trying to move our way with some thunderstorms. We could actually get in on some of those during the day tomorrow. That boundary will move to the north and bring us some milder air. So notice the 40s move to the north, the 60s and 70s move into our region. I think this is a little warm at 66. We could get there, but right now I've got most of the area, D.C., around the 63-degree mark tomorrow. And then on Friday, we actually see the cold front come through, so that helps to cool things a little bit. I'm going 65, but we'll have a tough time getting there. And I think areas to the north, maybe in the 50s, where areas to the south could be near 80 degrees. So we've got a big temperature spread over the next few days between our northern areas like Hagerstown, and our southern areas that will get a lot warmer. Temperatures in the 60s, 74 degrees on Saturday, 65 on Sunday. Take a look at where we are next week. Mid to upper 70s for the middle part of next week. So we definitely have some much warmer air coming in, 60s and 70s for most of that 10-day forecast. Yeah, we like that. Makes us think a little bit more of spring. Guess what else does? The cherry blossoms. Amelia Draper taking a look at the cherry blossom forecast coming up.
Well, the snow is melted, and this weekend is going to feel like spring, and that means it's time to get ready for the cherry blossoms. Meteorologist Amelia Draper has the official Storm Team 4 peak bloom prediction.
It's no secret we've had a really cold winter, especially the month of February. The tidal basin, and in fact, spring everywhere, we really haven't had any signs. But pretty soon, the tidal basin will go from looking drab like this to peak bloom. Peak bloom is when 70% of the Oshino cherry trees are out at the tidal basin, and it looks absolutely breathtaking. Typically, this happens from late March into early April, and weather plays a huge role, not just how cold it's been, but how warm or cold it's going to be moving forward. And with the cherry blossoms, we have 6 stages. Now, here's the thing. We haven't even entered stage 1 yet, and of course, Stage 6 is peak bloom, when all of the blossoms are out. I think we have a ways to go. Now, we are looking at a nice warm up through the middle of the month, but then a cool down toward the end of the month. So with that, my peak bloom forecast, it's later than it has been in more recent years, between March 30th and April 5th. Now, I do think that we'll see the blossoms really peak around April 2nd to the 3rd, so mark your calendar.
And we want to hear your predictions. Scan that QR code on your screen to take part in our Cherry Blossom Challenge. If you guess the correct date and time for peak bloom without going over, you could win a cherry blossom themed NBC4 Telemundo 44 prize pack. They're going to be hot, folks. That's going to do it for the News 4 Rundown for this Wednesday night. Be sure to join me right back here for News 4 at 11. I'm Jim Hadley. Have a great night, everybody.